Hey!
Hello.
Hello! Hello! It's the Island Shuffle, baby. We're back. Hey, can you believe it? It's episode number 7. We already done 6.
Wow, it's been 7 whole weeks.
It's been 7 whole weeks.
7 whole episodes of Lost I've watched.
Yes. At 7 whole episodes, do you feel like you are starting to glean a greater picture of this magnificent show?
Somewhat. What I've really realized is that the start of the show is good, the middle of the show is middling, and the end of the show is bad.
so the realization most people have had, in other words. We haven't really learned anything too new. If this is your first time listening, first of all, what the heck? Second of all, what we do in this show is we watch Lost out of order. We watch it not from front to back as you might normally if you were a normal person.
And not from back to front if you're a kooky whack.
If you're a Sam Hinkie
person.
But we just watch it as dictated by a random number generator. This week we watched The Glass Ballerina, which is Season 3, Episode 2.
Episode 51 in the entire series.
Yes, exactly. And only a few episodes before the one we watched last week, which was Season 3, Episode 6.
Episode 56 in the... 57.
57, yeah.
In the entire series.
Yeah. So, in other words, we have an episode that's pretty similar to the one we just watched, but has a bit of new stuff, too.
There's some interesting things going on here. We get to visit a couple new characters that we haven't really seen much of to this point.
Yes, this episode is not focused on our protagonist Sawyer, unfortunately. But
Although
it is.
There are some good moments.
We get to see our protagonist, and he does some of his classic japes and tomfoolery.
But instead, in this episode, we travel to the wonderful country of Korea.
Yeah, everyone's favorite country. We are hanging out with the 2 lovebirds that we call Sun and Jin. Prince, would I call them main characters? I don't know.
Oh my goodness.
Hugo's having fun. Hugo's the cat that's running rampant in our apartment. So.
Hugo, a.k.a. Hurley.
Yes, Hurley.
Hugo Reyes, the cat.
Hugo Reyes, the cat. Just like the Hurley on the island, Hugo is very mean and hates me.
What's that, Hugo? What's that? Where's Libby? What? What happened to Libby? What, Hugo? I miss Libby. Why did Michael kill her? Oh, I'm sorry, Hugo.
Yeah, it was rough.
Sorry that your love interest died after a half of an episode while Sawyer gets to be in love with every single person. Not in love. You can't. Can you ever really own a horse?
Would you would you call it love if it's all oriented around briefcases full of money? Is that true love?
That's modern. 21st century love, we call that.
You know Sawyer was, in all of his affection for Kate, he was just trying to wrangle up enough money for a briefcase to really propose, to really
He was trying to wrangle up enough briefcase for all the money he has. This was the real problem.
Listen, I love Sawyer, but this ain't a Sawyer episode. We're talking about Sun and Jin, baby.
Here's a question.
Yes.
So, we use random.org, a supposedly random number generator.
This is what they claim.
But, is it really random if today we're talking about sun, and it's the summer solstice, the day with the most sun in the entire world?
Yes, this is I think that there's gotta be a bit of that fate juice working at
There's gotta be, they must know what we're doing.
They must know what's up. They see we're going from 1 to 120, and they're like, there's one reason that people... there's only one purpose to generate such a number. So let's make it count. So this episode also takes place at the start of Season 3, so it's a lot of the similar... like Jack, Kate, and Sawyer are still being held prisoner by the others in the same place that they were last episode.
It's good. It's fresh, though, at this point. Jack is pouty.
Jack is pouty, Jack is rebellious, Sawyer's got some fight in him and he's sassing. Kate is, being Kate, doing what Kate does.
What is Kate doing?
She's breaking rocks.
She's breaking rocks. She's sort of concerned for Sawyer. Aside from that,
but
I don't know. That's mostly
it. There you get some decent scenes out of this. You get Jack being very pouty.
Very pouty. He must say like 20 words in the whole episode. He's on screen for probably a good 8 minutes.
He's not there for much, but he does get a killer last scene, which, fuck it, this is Lost Out of Order. Let's talk about that last fucking scene, because it's a good scene. I thought it was maybe the best scene of the episode. Hot take. Hot take alert.
It was a, what happened in that scene?
The last scene is, the old bug-eyed weirdo Ben, comes in and says, "Hey Jack, I know I'm holding you captive, but let me introduce myself. My name's Benjamin. I'm holding you hostage. I've lived on this island forever."
The Red Sox won the World Series.
Exactly, it's that one. Jack is basically just like, "Fuck you. Why would I ever trust you? You're mean and weird looking." And Ben basically is like, "We can help you. We can get you off this island if you cooperate with us." Jack's like, "Fuck you. Yeah, right." And Ben pulls out the big guns. To prove that he's got contact with the outside world, he says 3 important milestones of late 2004. He says that Bush got reelected, he says that Christopher Reeves passed away, and he says that the Red Sox won the World Series.
Jack spits out his beverage. He goes, "Pfft."
Yeah, right. Next you're going to be telling me Donald Trump is going to get elected.
Oh,
yeah, right.
True.
But then...
Too true.
But then... Ben has his AV club projectionist wheel in the Class TV and play exactly the legal amount of baseball footage to prove that the Red Sox did in fact win the World Series.
What were they gonna do if the Red Sox didn't win the World Series?
I think it just worked out that way.
Yeah. Well, I guess actually,
yeah.
For all intents and purposes, the show started in 2004.
Yeah, exactly. And
here they've only spent 69 days on the island.
Yes,
69. You heard that right.
Nice, by the way. Nice. Not bad. Nice. But in reality, this would have been airing
2006, 2007.
Yeah, exactly. So, and like that whole that's why the Red Sox will never win the World Series. That happened. That would have probably aired by the time the Red Sox had won the World Series.
Yeah, that's fair.
So they
knew.
They knew.
J.J. Abrams knew about the baseball before. After it had taken place.
I know that... Okay, here's how I know I'm the worst type of nerd in the world. Because there's a part of me that gets...
I kill people.
Because I'm the kind of nerd that commits murder. You know? I mean... Everybody's got their kind of nerdy
That's why the Blue Jays will never win the World Series.
Because I'm a murderer. But there's a part of me that gets genuinely upset whenever people blame J.J. Abrams for things on this show because he wasn't even he was not that involved at all.
Really?
No.
What did he do? He was a producer?
He helped
he directed the start.
He directed the pilot.
Yeah.
I think he directed one random episode after. He was mostly involved in getting the show off the ground, and then beyond that, not really at all.
Holy shit!
Yeah,
J.J. Abrams is just like the pilot in the flight of Lost, and he did a great job getting it off the ground.
Absolutely, he did.
And then it crashed and burned.
Absolutely, and I'm not I don't want to sound like I'm a big time J.J. Abrams defender. I don't want to be look, don't ever say J.J. did anything wrong. But I just it just is. He's objectively not to blame for Lost. Is the thing.
Oh, that's incredible. Does he not at this point have a bit of a reputation for starting things well and finishing them poorly?
I don't think so. I think he just has a reputation for I don't know, lens flare and
What else did he do recently? He did Star Wars, but I know he's not doing the next 2 in that series.
He did 2. I think he did one of the Star Trek movies too. He's done a lot of
the stars.
The stars, both the stars, the Martin star.
Did he direct that movie, My Favorite Martian? Do you know that one?
I don't know if he did or not. I cannot safely rule it out.
Have you seen that movie?
I saw it when I was in my infancy. I'm sure I made my parents rent it.
We should make a podcast about that movie, man. That movie is good.
There'll be time enough for that once we plow through all of it.
Okay. I don't know why that came to me. I haven't thought about that movie in years, but now I just can't get it out of my mind. I'm thinking about that dancing suit comes out of the washer machine and it's dancing. Oh my goodness!
I can safely tell you that I have I have zero memories of that movie at all, except for that one that you just unearthed. That you just excavated.
Wow, I need to watch that movie so badly. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Okay.
Alright.
So Jin and Sun. It's so hard to talk about the auxiliary characters in this show because they're so meaningless.
They're super, in the grand scheme of things, don't really matter.
Yeah, that's why we spent the first 10 minutes just talking about
J.J. Abrams and My Favorite Martian.
But also it's like when we really engage in characters, we've only really engaged in characters that have some sort of bearing on the continuation of the show. And Jin and Sun and Sayid, who is also featured pretty prominently in this episode, this is the first time we've seen them. How absolutely. Can we care about these characters?
Exactly. And as far as the auxiliary characters go, I think they're top of the heap. Because I think I might be wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure Jin, Sun, and Sayid are in the show continuously from the beginning to the end.
I think so too. I think we saw them in season 6, but in season 6,
Sayid
was awful.
Sayid he's a zombie. He's a sad zombie.
Yeah, Sayid.
And Sayid. And Sun and Jin are also there. But yeah.
But they did do things.
They did something.
What? Okay, so
yeah, enough dallying. We talked about that one really good scene at the end that I liked a lot. We talked about literally nothing else in this episode. So,
do you want to? Let's talk about the real time.
Yeah.
No, let's talk about the past time because it happened earlier.
Yeah.
Then we'll talk about the real time.
Let's keep it chronological.
So the past time story with Jin and Sun was all about how Sun had an affair with this bald man, and then Sun's dad tells Jin to kill this bald man, but doesn't tell him why.
Yep.
And then Jin almost kills him, and then the bald man presumably kills himself?
I think that's what we're supposed to glean from that scene. Yeah, I think it's implied that it's a suicide, but I think they might have also left it open.
Yeah, it seemed a little open because it didn't seem to me like he would. I don't understand why he would have killed himself.
Yeah, exactly. You all I feel like you made it out, but also maybe he just got. That's how rattled he got. He knows what a boss man's capable of. He's like whatever. That's kind of. You did a very nice job of just concisely summing up all... Because that whole thing takes place across, 5 or 6 scenes. And we see, Baldy and Sun, they're in bed. And
that's a really incredible scene.
A really remarkable scene. They're in bed. Baldy's like, I don't want to share you anymore. Let's move to America. You and me together. But then Sun's dad just barges in for some reason.
The old dad walking in on an affair.
Oh, Dad.
That is, I need to commend the show for that was, at least in my viewing experience, and I've been viewing for years now, several years of watching film and television.
You've got those peepers? And you use them to consume all kinds of media.
Yeah, oh my god. I watch YouTube. I recently subscribed to Crave TV.
Oh, wow.
I have a Netflix account.
Wow, you got all the premium streaming services.
Yeah, the streaming services.
Hey.
But I had never, to this point in my life, seen a scene where a parent walks in on their child's affair.
Yeah, that's pretty buck wild.
It's pretty good.
It's pretty good. It's pretty efficient storytelling is what I'll say.
Cut out the middleman. Just put Dad right in the bedroom.
just stick him right in there. And for further context, since this is the first Sun and Jin episode we've talked about, pretty much their whole gist of their deal is Jin and Sun, they loved each other for real once. But Sun's dad is a mobster guy. He's a mobster business guy. And he makes Jin do all sorts of heinous acts. And so that has put a strain on their relationship. And it's also kind of coated in like a layer of very East Asian kind of like
There's a lot of talk about honor.
Yes, exactly.
A lot of talk about no, it's mostly honor.
Mostly honor.
A lot of emphasis on family, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And emphasis on, there's a scene where Sun's dad really emphasizes to Jin, like, you're my son now, you're married to my daughter, you're my son, and basically uses that as an excuse for, like, now you have to kill people whenever I ask you to.
Exactly.
Which, I don't know, my dad does ask me to do that sometimes, so I get it, but at the same time, he's never asked me to kill a bald man before.
Exactly, yeah. He's asked me to kill, like, just people with all kinds of hair.
Yeah, exactly.
But a bald man?
I draw the line. You gotta draw the line somewhere. And, you know what? If...
I can tell you're still shooken up by it.
Yeah.
Hey, murder's hard. If there's one thing about Lost, it's that murder is hard.
True.
Murder isn't easy, guns are important, and Sawyer loves to smooch.
As a nerd who... That's incredible. As a nerd who murders, you would know.
A nerderer.
A nerderer. Two can play at that game.
They can, and nobody wins.
No. The good listeners at home, or maybe you're on the bus, maybe you're riding your bike. Take those headphones out.
Yeah, because you're gonna lose either way.
You mentioned though, just to go back to Sawyer for a second.
Yep. Our favorite boy.
You mentioned that Sawyer smooches in this episode, which is very important detail, I think.
Oh yeah, we gotta keep an eye on the protagonist. Obviously.
Yeah, we need to. I think the good listeners at home definitely need an update as to the sexual activity of our friend James Sawyer.
Yes.
And don't worry, Sawyer is he's still being Sawyer.
He's being Sawyer. He spends most of this episode quite horny.
I was the closest to a spit take that I've been in a very long time.
I definitely...
There was almost some fine Belial Hublon all over your wall.
Man, I'm glad that it wasn't that funny then. I'm glad that it was just unfunny enough for you to react viscerally to it. But not funny.
Good.
But not funny enough for you to lose your lunch.
So Sawyer's very horny in this episode. He's just ogling Kate while she's breaking rocks.
Kate's breaking rocks. Kate's like wearing this sweaty old dress, the same dress she wore in the last episode we watched.
True, she's been wearing that for days now.
And their like prison guard or whatever is like, Kate's like, you don't expect me to work in this. And the prison guard's like, well, you can you can take it off if you like. And then Sawyer gives Kate this incredibly horny look.
A really great Sawyer smirk.
Incredibly horny look. But then Sawyer gets caught giving that look and immediately switches that charm on and goes, "How dare you, sir?" And that's our just classic scamp Sawyer. Looking at women, then realizing, oh, maybe I shouldn't be so horny all the time.
I don't have my briefcase of money with me.
I don't have my briefcase of money with me, so I may as well keep playing that long con. And then later in the episode, he just drops his pickaxe and walks over and goes to smooch Kate anyway. And the reason is just like, I wanted to give him something to get mad about, but we've seen him bone down. We know this. We know the truth.
We know they're about to get.
That's what we call
busy in the cages.
That's what we call dramatic irony.
So was that the first time at this point in the show that Sawyer and Kate had smooched?
You know, I don't think so. I think that I can recall a smooch happening in season 1, I think.
Ooh, the old season 1 smooch.
Yeah.
When are Sawyer and Jack gonna smooch?
In my fucking dreams, that's when. In my head canon. They're always, if
Always
they're always
smooching
smooching
Jin.
off camera. Anytime they are like, if ever you see a scene of them like walking in a group, when they go off camera, you know they're making eyes.
They butt heads, if you know what I mean.
They do. They butt butts.
They had heads, but then they got cut off.
Yeah, that's not. I mean, you can't air that on ABC. So I get it.
What else? What else have we got going on? Should we go back to Jin and Sun?
Yeah, let's talk about the like primary island plot of Jin and Sun. So Jin and Sun and their friend Sayid are hanging out on a boat offshore, and they have a smoke signal going, waiting for Kate and Jack and Sawyer to show up. They don't really know that they've been captured yet.
You know what I like? That, and I didn't realize this while watching it, but there's this smoke signal going, and they say, like, it's been going for a day or so now. So what? They just lit a fire and then went on a boat for an entire day, and the signal is still, like, billowing up in this incredible...
It's still really going.
Yeah, that just seems like too long.
It's very bizarre. What were they doing for the whole time? Just hanging out, playing cards?
Playing cards. Oh my goodness.
Jin doesn't really speak English very much at all. Sun has to serve as their translator between Jin and Sayid.
There is a funny scene in this episode where so apparently for some reason Sun wasn't going to go on the boat with them. Maybe it was I don't know. I don't want to speculate as to why she wasn't going to go on the boat.
It's not to us to speculate.
Exactly. It's to J.J. Abrams because he intricately created the entirety of this show from start to finish.
Yes, he spent years weaving this twisted tapestry together.
He spent years making the pretzel.
Yeah.
But... So they allude to the fact that Sun wasn't going to go on the boat, and she's like, do you know why I actually came on the boat? Because I didn't want to be separated from you. She says that to Jin, but that is such a moot point when you're on a show and everyone is like, no, you two just can't be on screen, not together.
Yeah, that's
these Sayid and Jin can't talk to each other.
Yeah, exactly. That's it's absolutely a plot thing.
Yeah.
Like at least later in the show, like when they have the pilot character who exists just to be the pilot, they are at least like open about like, well, good thing I can fly a plane. Finally, I'm here to be useful.
Exactly.
It's like instead of like here they have to mask it with like, oh, it's because I love my husband, and it's like, well, no, it's because you can't have a scene without
exactly. You. It's because they couldn't have story. They couldn't have driving forward story.
Absolutely.
If the two characters involved cannot communicate in any way.
And that's their kind of like Sun and Jin are for most of the show kind of a package deal. Although they spend the back like quarter of the show separated. But for the most part, they spend like they're pretty much inseparable, and their whole plots are just like, how are we gonna live? We're the only people who don't really speak English on the island. How are we gonna get by? Also, we love each other, but our marriage is complicated by mob stuff. So what are we gonna?
It's tough being the only married couple on the island.
Actually, yeah, can confirm.
That's really surprising.
As a married couple on an island, I am pleased to confirm that yes, it's not easy. But also, I think they're like that's kind of their whole arc is like they're like really unhappy at the start, and the fact that they're isolated from everybody else makes it harder. But they learn to the island makes fools of us all, and they learn to love each other again.
I feel like I've been on several planes in my life, and there've usually been a lot of married couples.
Yeah,
like
sure.
I feel like, especially in like a plane, it's not if you're on the bus, that's a lot of single people. People take the bus, but when you get married,
you take the bus when you got no attachments.
Exactly, the bus is where you go to meet someone.
Yeah, the bus is where you can feel free to dip at any moment.
If you're single and you don't want to meet someone. You take a cab, but if you're married and you're with the person that you love, or at least the person that you're married to,
You're flying that plane.
You're flying in a plane.
Maybe if you're young, you're taking the train, but you're flying. But you're flying that plane, and that's a great point. And I would like to remind you that I think that flight had several passengers on it, of which only 48 survived. So maybe all the married people died except Sun and Jin.
Married people die.
Yeah.
I guess the other obvious conundrum head with the representation of the people on that flight are that one Australian.
Yeah.
Out of 48 people from a flight from Australia.
One Australian survived.
Yeah.
And I also just remembered that there is another married couple on the flight.
Who's that?
I don't think we've seen either of those characters at all yet. Rose and Bernard.
Oh, I remember Rose and Bernard. They're nice, but
they're nice.
Yeah,
they're nice, but
they
they're
just
incredibly
barely got married.
They're barely married, and they're like incredibly auxiliary characters.
Yeah, they're really there for like they're feel good characters.
Yeah, exactly. They're wholesome characters. They don't. Their problems are not like I committed murder or I'm part of the mob or my dad hates me, which are the three lost backstory plots. I'm pretty sure. You can condense mob and murder into one. So it's either like I'm atoning for my sins or my dad is mad at me. Those are the two backstories. But Rose and Bernard are just like nice and there. But we have actually not seen them at all yet. So it's kind of disingenuous to get into that.
It's really funny that we're talking about that.
Yeah.
It's really funny. It's just such a testament to how... I don't know, just the show through its structure and the structure of intensely focusing on certain characters at certain moments or devoting certain episodes to characters
makes you really go. I want to see these. I want to see someone else right now.
And like the way that we're watching it too, sort of puts into picture what characters are actually important and what characters are not important, because the ones that are important we're constantly seeing no matter what's going on the island.
Sawyer, Kate, Jack, those are the biggest boys of all.
We got Locke as well around a lot.
Locke is another pardon me. Locke is another big player.
I feel like that's it.
Those are the big four.
Those are the big four. So those are going to be the faces on Mount Rushmore after this podcast is finished and people have rediscovered what they loved about Lost.
Exactly. So people are going to be like, fuck those shitty presidents. Let's redo that whole thing and make it
the important people.
The important people in life. Locke, Jack, Sawyer, and Kate. So let's get back to the plot of the thingy. So eventually Sayid kind of figures out that, like, you know what? I think the others let's get some crazy harebrained scheme going. I'm pretty sure that Jack and the others got captured by the others. So what do you say we double up this smoke fire and lure the others, and then we'll have them ambushed. Which is a crazy plan because it's your three people and like you have like two like pistols, and up until now the others have been an almost supernatural force of fuckery. Like
and they have successfully captured all of the main characters of your show.
Exactly. Like Sayid's like, I'm going to take hostages and we're going to do it, and obviously that does not go well at all.
It was a really bad plan because it was just very easily foiled.
But I think
very easily foiled.
Sayid and like Jin are like camping out in the trees and they're like keeping a watch, and then like it just cuts to the boat and the others are just there.
They just went to the boat instead of going to the ambush.
Yeah, exactly. They knew what was up.
They were like, yo, I see that they have smoke signals here. Also, okay, that's another problem that I don't know why I didn't realize this until now, but so when they were out on the boat, let's say it was 2 p.m. that day.
Sure.
They had a big smoke signal.
Yeah.
And then Sayid's plan was, we're going to go back to that island that the smoke signal is on, and we're going to make a smoke signal.
Yep.
And the others are going to come.
Yeah, we're going to make a bigger smoke signal. We're going to make an even bigger smoke signal. Like, why? Yeah, why would the others not have just been lured there already?
From the first smoke signal,
Yeah.
you're just doing the same thing again.
Exactly.
Einstein said it's a bad idea.
Yeah, man.
Einstein said if you judge a fish on its ability to read a book, then you know what? We're all illiterate.
Einstein got it right yet again. They don't call him Einstein for nothing.
They don't. Yeah, exactly. They named him after a real smart guy.
So it's. I'll be honest. This episode wasn't. Okay, wait. Before we get into how we feel about this episode, there's one more thing I want to highlight, which is that we, the audience, knows all episode that the other's plans is to take this boat. And the reason we know is because we get a really incredible scene where Ben is guiding, he basically learned that, someone comes up to them and is like, hey, we just found out that they're just hanging out on a boat by the shore, and they have a boat. So they could find us. What do you want us to do? And Ben goes, well, gather up some people and go get them. And the lady leaves. And just before she leaves, Ben says, I want that boat. In a really good delivery.
And then the Lost theme happens.
Yeah. I want that boat.
I want that boat.
I love Ben's delivery of that line, and it will be
I want that boat.
I want that boat.
I want that boat.
So Ben wants that boat, and then they get that boat. Because their ambush completely
Ben
fails.
wanted it.
It is worth
Ask
noting.
and you shall receive, Ben. That's in the Bible.
It is worth noting. Sun shoots someone on the boat, but doesn't prevent the boat from getting stolen. Sadly.
No, the boat gets stolen with Sun on it after she shoots someone, and then she jumps off the boat.
Oh no, yeah, she does come off the boat.
She was on the boat when it was initially being stolen.
Right, but she left. Right.
Yeah, she does shoot someone.
She shoots someone.
It's kind of anticlimactic.
And I want to point out that someone is the wife of the guy who was beating up the mean guard who was beating up Sawyer in the last episode and almost killed him. So
it's all Sun's fault.
It's all Sun's fault.
So in this episode, Sun has an affair with a bald man.
Yes.
And then that bald man dies.
Mm-hmm.
And what does she do after all that?
Mm-hmm.
Kills a lady.
Absolutely. It's a very good, remember how we watched that Kate episode and it was like, okay, you guys are really spinning your wheels on how to make this whole fugitive thing, how to contrive drama out of this fugitive thing. This doesn't feel as egregious as Kate's stuff. But it still has that air of okay, here we go again. The boys are back at it.
There's a definite theme of the writers not being very good at forming female characters.
Yes, that is true. And I think there might also be a theme of the writers not being great at forming non-white characters.
Yeah, that is incredibly apparent throughout the whole backstory thing.
Yes.
It's sort of awkward, very clunky. People seem to be formed on stereotypes. They're not very... Which, I mean, I guess a lot of other characters are too.
Yeah,
you do have to acknowledge that. Sawyer is a stereotype.
Sawyer's a stereotype. And also, full disclosure, we're two white guys. Well, one white guy, one white non-binary person. And we are not necessarily the most equipped people to be talking about this sort of thing. But we would be remiss if we didn't bring up the fact that at the time I remember thinking that this show had a diverse cast because it was a mostly, but looking back, it's clearly just tokenism.
Oh, absolutely.
It's because it's all white, and then you have African American man and his son, Korean couple. Iraqi and actually is that it?
That is it.
I mean, Echo's African American too. No, Echo's actually just Nigerian.
Echo's African.
Just plain old African. I think,
I
think that's actually it, isn't it?
Yeah.
But at the time that for me as a young white teen, that was whoa, wow, cool.
That is really interesting. Just the idea that
And plus the fact that, like, their backstory is in, like, straight up unsubtitled Korean. Or no, it is subtitled. It is subtitled. I need to clarify that it is subtitled
so
Korean.
Incredible.
It would be ideal. Just no nonsense.
I love the idea that was going on, and we did not address it to this point.
Man. I think that, you know what? It would be better if it was unsubtitled. Just like, you just kind of gotta feel out what's going on.
Exactly. You can see the action.
I also mentioned that it would be good that it would also be good if the Korean that they were speaking was unrelated to the subtitles, was just pure nonsense. They were just like saying like the lyrics to "Smooth" by Santana featuring Rob Thomas. I think that'd be great.
Oh my god!
I think that'd be fun. But
anyone can recognize those lyrics in any language.
Exactly. That's the universal language. Sorry, you were saying before I interrupted you to tell my good smooth joke.
What was I saying? I don't know. It is just interesting to think about the fact that looking back, these characters are clearly just token minorities, and none of the main characters are of any type of minority. Kate is the only female main character, and I would argue might have the most character flaws.
True.
And I don't know. I guess it's most shows have these problems.
Yeah, this is not.
Most shows are written and made and executed by white guys.
Absolutely, this is not a show. This is not a problem exclusive to Lost, but also I remember at the time, I myself touted this, and I also heard it touted elsewhere that like this is wow, can you believe how much ground this show is breaking? But like, you know, shrug also, and like from especially from a present day perspective, and especially you mentioned the women too. I mean, Kate's a murderer. Claire is pregnant and then just there. Juliet is Juliet's fine. Juliet's alright.
Yeah, Juliet's fine.
That's not all the female characters.
No,
I guess
Sun is not great. There's Sayid's girlfriend who gets killed.
Yeah, she does.
And aside from that, there's Rose. Rose is as effective as Bernard is.
Yes, absolutely.
But
yeah, not great. Not great Lost. And like, especially and it's like the problem with the ensemble cast, it gets amplified when you try to do that, which is like you want to have all these characters be fleshed out, but there's only so much you can really do.
Absolutely, yeah. That's completely true, and you can tell too with specific characters where their stories are supposed to be less familiar to an American audience, like Sun and Jin's story, or like Sayid's story, in comparison to like Charlie. Although his story is interesting, he was a rock star and a drug addict. It's like people are at least familiar with that type of narrative, and it seems, I don't know, more based in some sort of reality than I don't know. The Sun and Jin thing is just a very bizarre, like Korean mobster.
It feels very. It's very much its own thing relative to all the other like backstories that we see.
And then again, the Sayid thing with like
Sayid's whole backstory is also very steeped in stereotypes.
Like Iraqi army, he's torturing people.
Yeah, he's torturing people, but like outside of his backstory, he's a pretty well-rounded character, all things considered. But like his backstory really lays it on. But we can talk about Sayid's backstory when we get to a Sayid episode.
Oh, I can't wait.
I cannot wait either. What'd you think of the Glass Ballerina as a whole episode, as a whole beast?
It was fine. It had entertainment value. It had its moments. Sawyer's I think Sawyer is sort of the real crown jewel of the show.
Oh no, there's no denying that. He sasses his way through everything, and he's a lovable meanie.
I mean, but the fact that this was our first episode aside from the Richard one that really focused on a more auxiliary character.
We also had that Echo episode too.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I guess auxiliary characters that sort of stick around for longer. Because
yeah.
Echo has a season.
Yeah.
Richard has a season.
But Sun and Jin are the first guys who are like they're outside of like they're not like a team cast, but they're like they're still throughout the whole show, but they're still you get what I mean.
And that was interesting, but I think watching it not in continuation, you definitely get the sense that these characters aren't important and whatever's happening in their lives is going to have no bearing on the future of the show. And that isn't the best thing in a TV show, I would say.
It's not great. Here's what I want to bring up to you. And I guess, I may as well bring it up now. Why not? The first 3 seasons of the show and the last 3 seasons of the show are very tonally different. And there's a reason for that. That's because around now-ish, around the start of season 3, the writers realized we can't really just keep spinning our wheels forever. So they went to, I think this was the showrunners that did this, Lindelof and Hughes. They went to ABC and they ended up striking a deal where they were like, okay, 6 seasons and that's it.
Really?
Instead of just like, we're just going to keep getting renewed every year, which at the time was the traditional way you did dramas. They basically said, nope, we're going to do it at 6 seasons so that we can tell a story relatively speaking on our own terms.
And we need to be able to sort of wrap it up. And we need to know where the middle is. We need to know when we're getting closer to the end.
We can't keep introducing all these threads, and we also can't keep telling like how many more times can we tell the Kate is a fugitive story, etc.
Probably a good 10-15 more times.
Probably a good. You can milk that cow for a long while, but that's why there's. As a result of it, there's a very distinct shift between the first 3 seasons and the last 3 seasons.
I didn't realize that.
And because I think season 4 onward is when we start dealing with flash forwards and flash sideways and shit like that. It's when they start really getting it starts veering away from a show about people trying to get off the island and dealing with their past guilt. And it becomes more like a just straight up action adventure show about a wacky island.
A wacky island and all its friends.
And all its friends and the friends they make along the way. I just wanted to bring that up, and I think that's worth
that's a really good point, and sure. it sort of gives me perspective for the future. And
absolutely.
Perspective to you, the listeners, for every day.
I want you to take that nugget of information and remember...
All of it.
All of it. And remember it in your tryingest times. But I also just think that's interesting because, it just is so, it's just wait, you're telling me they had time for the last 3 seasons? Then why is season 6 so fucking weird? Why is it that way? Why is it that way? Anyways.
Which season was the writer's strike season?
That was season 4, unfortunately. Okay. And you can tell when the writer's strike happens because it's kind of you can tell it's kind of accelerating something, and then the last 5 episodes of it are just fuck shit, oh my god, just everything just kind of happens all of a sudden, and it's really kind of crazy.
The writer's strike I would really like to analyze the writer's strike seasons of several different shows, and then analyze the season immediately after, and talk about, I think specifically. Shows having to reel themselves back in from a lackluster season.
Yeah, from a season that got kind of decimated, unfortunately. Well, guess what? Season 5 is an interesting case study in that.
Have we watched a season 5 yet?
We have not. We have not watched season 4 or 5 yet. Those are the 2 untouched seasons as of yet.
Okay, good. Those are... I hadn't watched any of those yet, so I'm excited to hop right in there.
Absolutely, we'll get there someday. If the gods will let us. That's been the show. Before we say goodbye for real, I want to say this is the first episode we're recording where we actually have an RSS feed up, and we're actually up on iTunes and up on Google Play and all that stuff. we're on your devices. But if you're listening, you probably don't know that. Basically, a good dear friend of mine, Matt Riviero, shout out to Matt. Shout out to Matt GameCube. He was kind enough to allow us to use his WordPress free of charge. And so we're using his WordPress as a RSS feed. But we've also already recorded 6 episodes at this point, and I don't want to just put all 6 up at once in the interest of, like, he's like, hey, use my server for free, and I'm like, cool, here's all this to upload right now, and I'm like, obviously no.
Hey, here's a big job for you.
Yeah, it's like, no thanks. But that has the added benefit of giving us a 6-week cushion. But it also means that we are recording this on June 21st.
In the future. In the past.
In the past. We're in the past. We don't even know what shit's gone down in the coming month.
Have the Red Sox won the World Series?
Has George Bush been reelected?
Has Jeb Bush been elected? That's the real.
Give me that. Oh, you know what meme I really love for some reason?
What?
That meme of like it's the Electoral College and it's like Hillary 0, Trump 0, Jeb 100, and it's overlaid with a pic of Jeb Bush like with his arms outstretched. It's not that Jeb Bush is anyone decent or anything.
I was thinking about Jeb Bush yesterday. And
remember that fun month where it was like, well, I guess this guy's gonna make it. Remember that innocent month?
Yeah, when he seemed like a realistic threat before shit hit the fan. But I was thinking about Jeb Bush maybe 2 days ago.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about how, like, this guy is so successful on paper. Just has, like, a wildly successful politician in so many ways. It was a realistic consideration for him to become president of the United States. And I don't think there's ever been anyone who has experienced so much political success or, like, has been such a public figure that also everyone can just agree, like, is such a fucking loser.
Yeah.
He seems, I don't know, you almost feel bad for the guy.
That's exactly it. Even, like, I think that I think politically he's a shitty dipshit, but...
not to say that I want him to succeed.
No, absolutely not, but, like, seeing him, like, seeing his campaign... Man, oh man, you thought... Here's the twist. We're not just going from a month from the past. We're all the way back in 2016, baby. Blow your mind.
Hypothetical political situations.
Yeah. Hot Jeb Bush takes in your area.
Oh my god, but no, I just picture him at like Thanksgiving dinner with like his brother, former president of the United States.
Don't
and his
do this
dad,
to me.
former president of the United States, and they're all just like making fun of him.
He definitely does get made fun of a lot.
Well,
that's what you get when you're born into a shitty political dynasty.
True.
You gotta I don't know, fucking go sleep in your fucking pile of money and then go fucking kill some more poor people while you're at it. Hot take. On that note. On that fun note.
The Island Shuffle.
The Island Shuffle. Apparently it's a political podcast where I shit on Jeb Bush.
That was incredible. I think that was a really great way to... I don't know. I can't say anything more about it. It's gone on too long.
Yeah, I think so. Let's end with our classic sign-off catchphrase. Eat the rich and...